here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Jeremy Campbell.
Good evening and welcome to the NFL Roundtable Talks here on my channel. I got a couple guests with me. I got Will Vogel. He's going to talk a little bit about the Panthers and the Lions. I got Ralph Williams, who represents the Steelers. And we got, for the first time in a long time, B. Strilla the Thrilla talking a little bit about Lions mini camp so far. So it sounds like everybody's having a good time. Justin Jefferson got paid. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. Nico Collins and Jalen Waddle. And somebody's not happy he hasn't been extended yet, so he hasn't reported to the mandatory OTAs in Dallas there. CeeDee Lamb is evidently pissed off at management and pulling a Karen move.
The Covenant.
Good
that
evening.
Seems to be in flux with everything going on with the wide receivers now.
Yep, and Tyreek Hill is a little upset because Waddle now makes more than him. But at the time when he signed his deal, he was one of the highest average per year guys until A.J. Brown got his deal, and then so on and so forth. It's the nature of the business. As the market allows people to have higher salaries, they get them.
Exactly.
So, what do you think about the CeeDee Lamb situation there in Dallas there, Will?
What I think is they need to sign this dude because you need to extend this dude or else he's going to want to leave. Because you know what? I'd rather sign him 100 times over 100 over Dak Prescott because that guy has not done anything for you in the playoffs. Yes, he's a good regular season quarterback, but he's a very mediocre to below mediocre postseason quarterback. And CeeDee Lamb is explosive when he does catch the ball. So pay that dude.
What do you think there, Pistrilla?
They're gonna pay CD. I think they're just gonna let Dak walk.
They have to.
That's all there is to it. I mean, I think it's the lesser of the two evils. They're gonna keep their mainframe there. They're gonna sign Micah. They got to sign him. So yeah, I see the writing on the wall for Dak.
Year option too, right?
What's that?
They already exercised Micah's 5th-year option, so he's here next year, and they can wait a year to do that because he already has another year under the rookie salary cap, the way it's set up.
And the way that they, the rookie quarterbacks are coming in and playing, 50% of them are doing really well. So if you're banking on that, Dallas could go get a quarterback or get a veteran quarterback. Just obviously they're not really liking what Dak is doing there, which I think is disappointing because I don't think Dak is just the problem there. I think Jerry Jones is the problem, but whatever.
To ride on that, personally, real quick, I'd say ride with Dak and then try to trade up for Shedeur Sanders or Quinn Ewers. That's just me.
What is your take on the Dallas situation?
Well, if CeeDee Lamb wants to be paid, pay the man. And then on top of that, if you have Dak Prescott, like Will said, laying an egg in the playoffs, you need to do something about that. And we'll see what happens. You could always get a veteran quarterback out there that can just manage the game for you. Okay, not that's all you need in this day and age. You really don't need a superstar quarterback. If you've got a good wide receiver, good running game, you just need somebody to manage the game. So let him manage the game, and then like Will said, go into the draft, look for somebody, and get them and bring them in. That's what you do, and then get yourself an experienced backup quarterback. I don't know why they got rid of Ben DiNucci. He's not a bad quarterback, and he's still sitting out there. So they may sign him back. I don't know, so we'll see where that goes.
Here's the thing. You remember last year, or was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, when Dak got hurt early in the season, Cooper Rush comes in, and he
Yes,
had a five win game streak, and then he lost one just as
right.
he got healthy. And literally the week before that, Jerry Jones says, "Well, if Dak gets healthy and he's still winning, I got a problem." Thank God Cooper Rush lost for Jerry Jones. It made the decision easier. But I think what they should have done is let Cooper Rush play in the playoffs over
Where
Dak.
Yes,
is he
yes,
anyway?
yes,
Is he still
yes. They
with them?
should have. Look what the Steelers did with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was healthy. He could have played in the Buffalo game, but Mike Tomlin went with the hot hand and Mason Rudolph, and he
And
told Kenny Pickett, "You don't like it," so he didn't dress. So
That was just an overall bad pick for Pittsburgh in the first place. Nobody,
yes, it
none of those
was.
quarterbacks should never
Homer
went in the
pick.
first
No,
round. None of them.
no.
yeah,
It
No,
was
you're
a
right.
Homer
You're
pick.
right, Zilla. The whole class was just awful. And I mean, Kenny Pickett, I never expected Kenny Pickett to go in the first round. And when the Steelers took him, and I'm going to tell you why the Steelers took him, okay? Because they didn't want the Dan Marino headache again. Because they didn't want to hear the fans go, well, you didn't pick Kenny Pickett, and he became a great quarterback like Dan Marino, and the Steelers didn't pick him. They had an opportunity to take Dan Marino, and they took a drunk and Gabe Revere.
Yeah,
and
but he plays
I,
nowhere like Dan Marino did in college
No,
either.
no, you're right, Scylla. Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is that's why the Steelers did that because
Well,
Kevin
listening to
Colbert, our
their
GM
fans,
at
they
the
should
time,
be
was
listening to their
afraid.
fans in the first place. They've never
Yeah,
done that before.
I know, but
on a
that's what
side note, reports out of Philly is that Kenny Pickett looks better than Jalen Hurts, who they.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what, though, Jeremy? That's mini camp. That's OTAs. Who cares?
Yeah,
It's
really.
what he looks like in the regular season or in the preseason.
I'm saying
Thank
I
you,
really
Okay.
Ralph. That's exactly what I say all the time with everybody making all these good, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that. Just like Caleb Williams throwing 7 interceptions. I said,
Yes.
OTAs.
it's exactly what the OTAs are for. If you actually think about it, it's so that if the rookies get there and they make mistakes, or first year guys learning a system, if they make mistakes, they're gonna make mistakes. They're first year guys. It's gonna happen. They're there to learn from those mistakes. The
Yes,
problem
they are.
is if they do keep repeating it, then they're failing the system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
I just looked at Tim Twentyman's report from day 2 from today, and he already said Hendon Hooker looks miles more consistent today than he did yesterday. And I said, look, guys, just because somebody has a bad day and it's his first off-season workout, he's going to have those bad days. And then the QB coaches are going to get with them and say, hey, this is what you did wrong. This is where you made the wrong read. You need to do this better, blah, blah, blah. That's
I'm
what
just
coaches do.
I'm just waiting for that fan base bandwagon to see because Goff's been throwing a lot of interceptions during OTAs. I'm just waiting for them to start getting down there and say, oh, he paid him all that money. He's throwing interceptions. It's OTAs, man. Come
I
on.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly. Zilla, I agree with you on that.
here's
It's
here's
base
what's nice
defense and
about
base offense. I don't understand why they have
right.
problems.
Here's what's nice about that, Bistrilla. We're hearing something we have never heard since Goff has been here. The defense is coming out stronger than the offense. We have never heard that all 3 years that Goff has been here. And that's a good sign. That's iron sharpening iron. We already know we have a great offense. We've been top 5, 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Defense,
About to be
passing
3.
defense, we've been god awful. So to hear that Jack Campbell picked off Goff twice when he was targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown and targeting Laporta, fantastic. That's why we drafted him. We wanted him to be able to do that.
Yeah.
He
I heard Arnold held his own against Amon today, even though Amon got a touchdown. But he said Amon was holding his own against him.
right.
Arnold was holding his own against Amon. So
And
that's a
Davis
good.
was doing good against JMO. But
Mm-hmm.
JMO with his speed could break away, and he got a couple deep passes. He made a nice sideline catch. So I'm giving the report from today already. Hooker was
Yeah.
more consistent. He went 4 for 4 inside the red zone for touchdowns, which is huge. The first team defense versus the first team offense actually forced 2 times that they had to go for field goal situations, which is great because everybody says, "Oh, but they're playing inside." No, Allen Park is an outside field that they're on, and Michael Badgley is making field goals outside, which is what he struggled with his entire career outside of Denver. So to hear that he's actually making some kicks in those game time situations and not missing at some good distances, mind you. As a matter of fact, on the last day of the voluntary OTAs, he went 8 for 8, and all of them were 53 or further with a long of 61. And they said that it cleared the crossbar and could have made it from 3 or 4 yards further. So to hear that about him means he must have really worked not only on his leg strength but his accuracy. Manu's been struggling. Oh my God, a 4th-round rookie that's a project to be a starter later on is struggling. Let's label him a bust. I saw that.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's still OTAs to me.
Yeah.
I mean, kicker's not in a real game situation, so I'm not even counting any of that. I guess we can stop the shouting about having Jake Bates from Michigan Panthers coming here because he missed a crucial 53-yard kick in a waning seconds of a big game. So those are things you got to look at with kickers if they can do it or not. So
And
I'll be happy with the kickers we got.
All 4 of Jake Bates' misses have been outside.
Yep.
Wow.
A lot of people
So they haven't been in in Ford Field then.
Right. He's been electric at Ford Field. He doesn't miss. And what's crazy is whether he's outside or in, he does the same exact practice routine. And it finally took notice. Somebody reported about it. I talked about it because I saw him week 2 when they were at home and he was doing it. He literally sits on the 48-yard line on the opposite side of the field
and bomb.
And 1 yard away from the bench, he's bombing kicks through the goalpost 3 out of 5 times. He will not quit till he makes 3. That's a 70-yard field goal.
Don't end on a miss.
Right.
Yes. Don't end on a miss. And especially during professional, semi-professional, whatever you want to call it, football, and it's for the division championship or the conference championship, and you whiff it, and that's not good luck. So
anyone leading candidate for bait services, you know what? Every single team that talked to him, and there's been 18 of them, has a chance to sign him after they're out of the playoffs. Because that's the way the deal between the UFL and the NFL is set up. You cannot talk to their agent or talk money until the season is over.
Yep.
Or until everything is satisfied.
Done?
And if they're out of the playoffs or something, not until the championship game's over. Yeah.
So we got the bye week this week because they were like the 2 seed, and they play their playoff game next week. If he loses next week, then on June 16th, he's fair game that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So let's welcome in Detroit Dom into here, and he says, Laporta over your bum-ass tight end.
He's not wrong.
How are you doing, Dom?
I'm doing well. How about y'all?
Yeah, no voice. Oh, there we go.
Doing good, buddy.
Thought you were muted there for a second. I was like, what happened? Then we finally heard you, lagged out on you. But what do you think about? Yep. What do you think about the CeeDee Lamb situation? Him sitting out a mandatory camp for Dallas. Yep. Yeah, I think you connected to a Wi-Fi that you're not close to. But okay, let's go on. So, what do you think about so far, other than the back mini camps, the standouts that you've heard about, Bistrella?
I think the rookies are getting their job. They're getting worked out, and that's what they need to do during OTAs. I think this is more of a walkthrough for the veterans and for the rookies. It's getting acclimated into NFL football, which that's what OTAs are for, basically, to start off the season. when they get into training camp, it'll be a little rougher for them because they'll be in pads, they'll be hitting, they'll be playing other teams, during training camp. So it'll be fun for to watch that. That's what I just watch preseason games for anyway. I watch for the rookies. I don't watch it for the vets because half the time the vets aren't playing, and it doesn't make a difference to me because the vets have already established themselves. I want to see what the rookies do in certain situations. So.
And you've seen what Ian Rappaport said about the CBA coming up for the 2026 year when they ratify it after the 2025 season, what they're going to, as far as length of schedule, what they're doing with the off-season workouts and everything. Do you agree or disagree with any of it?
Hey, if it's 18 games, I mean, that's fine. But like Goodell said, and I don't never agree with Goodell. I think Goodell is the devil. But anyway, what the matter is with him is that I agree with him because as long as you get rid of preseason games, if you're going to go to 18 games, get rid of the preseason games. Just do training camp and then play teams within the training camp. Have training camp.
I don't think they should get rid of OTAs though. I think they should keep that because if you're going to go to 18 games, and have 2 preseasons, you have to keep OTAs because you need that extra time to train. Okay, and getting rid of OTAs, forget about it.
If anything, OTAs are going to start earlier.
No,
they're getting rid of them in this contract.
They shouldn't though.
No, they shouldn't. Because there's the vet, which is a mandatory OTA just before the draft, where they're able to come in and work out. It's not so much to be actually in practice. It's more to be at the facility, getting acclimated and getting back to football shape. It's more about the workouts and all that type of stuff and the calisthenics, that first workout that they do for the 3 days prior to the draft. Mm-hmm. And then a week after the draft is over, you got the rookie mini camp OTA. So that's to get them comfortable with your coaches and get the playbooks in their hands and get them started actually working on the plays that your team runs. So if you do away with those, just those ones, those 2 alone should stay no matter what.
Guys, the union hasn't been relevant since Gene Upshaw. The union has been horrible. I don't know who's in charge or the president of the union right now, but whoever it is agrees to this. I think he should be voted out because I'm going to tell you what, this is horrendous. I've been in 5 unions in my lifetime. Well, so, I mean, I understand, what contracts are about, but when you do it like this, forget it.
I do think that there is a line that is the president of the.
He just got voted as the president. But these talks started actually a year ago. They've been doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
We heard about this last offseason that they were talking about going to 18 games. So the previous president already ratified this idea. And they're saying it's to limit the off-season injuries. But if you look at what they've done since they took away a lot of the preseason workouts, soft tissue injuries are up 33% in the league over the last 5 years.
Plus, it makes the first damn near month of the regular season, it's just sloppy.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Let's be honest. We all knew that they weren't going to stay at 17 games for long, but where does it end? Do they get rid of the preseason entirely and go to a 20-game season?
Well, no, I don't think the players would buy that. I think that I think 18 games is about the limit, and I've already heard some players complaining about that. Even with
exactly. I mean, how much further does this go? I mean, the union's got to step up and say something. And right now, the way I'm looking at this, the union is weak.
But at the same time, you have to look at the union is the one that's pushing. If they add games, you take away preseason games. That's the whole thing the whole time. The problem is the less preseason games you are, the chances of seeing a starter play at all is none. When you're down to 2, it's going to be your second string guys out there, and then the third and fourth strings that are fighting to get that second string spot to make a roster. That's all you're going to see. Smoking Dad comes in and says, "Hey, Dom, long time no see." Orlando says 1,000-yard season isn't good anymore. 1,000-yard season running back wise is fine.
Oh, it's great now.
I mean,
especially when they're not running the ball anymore, they're passing it. So that's awesome.
Games, 1,000 is actually good because there's no. It's a two-back system, two-back league. You know, 1,000 is still good.
There's only like what, 3 bell cows out there, and then the rest of them are all 2-back systems.
Mm-hmm. True.
Okay. Well, what did you want to say about that?
Didn't you say there's going to have to be 2 bye weeks for the 18 game?
I said it would make sense to make it 2 bye weeks. It also would make sense to make the Pro Bowl relevant. If they're going to keep the same Pro Bowl format that they have now, you don't have to worry about injuries mid-season because it's a flag football game. So what you do is in the middle of the
tell that to
they should
Robert
just get
Edwards.
rid of the Pro Bowl. I don't even know what the hell that's for.
Right.
That stuff is so boring.
I don't watch it.
I know.
I don't either.
What I'm saying is to make it relevant again, you put it in the middle of the season like everybody else's all-star or all-pro game or whatever you want to call it, and you do a bye week before it. That way they can do all the little activities just before the Pro Bowl, the people that are in the Pro Bowl. You got the Pro Bowl, and then a bye week after, and make it all 32 teams have the exact same bye weeks. Then
Well, now with this Pro Bowl the way it is, guys, okay, people don't get involved anymore. Once the championship game's done and we have the Super Bowl, that's it. It's the Super Bowl. They don't even care about the Pro Bowl. I don't. I mean, I know a lot of people that don't, and I know people used to call it the Pro Bowl because it was a boring game to begin with. So I mean,
it started becoming boring.
They moved it to the bye week between the championship games and the Super Bowl, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because once the championship game's over, they don't even care after that.
The Pro Bowl was going to be like that anyway because players don't want to get injured in a meaningless, stupid game. Okay, that's
right.
I mean, I can see that.
I
can see that. I can see that.
Right,
but
what I'm getting at, if you moved it to the middle of the season, you could put something on the line like they did in baseball.
How about this not have a Pro Bowl?
I know, I understand, but I'm just
hockey. It makes sense in the middle of the season.
Eventually, baseball makes sense in the middle of the season. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Certain sports that makes like just like basketball in the middle of the season, but I still wouldn't put the Pro Bowl anywhere in the season.
Football's a whole different game than the other sports. That's the whole problem.
They don't play football in the Pro Bowl is my point. They play flag football.
Yeah, but still, nobody's going to watch it.
I know.
They're not going to watch it in the middle of the season like they don't watch it in the end of the season.
I'm not saying so people will watch it. I'm saying to make it relevant and just make it mean something to somebody, anybody. If you put it in the middle of the season, whatever conference win, that team is automatically the home team in the Super Bowl that year. Then you won't have the Super Bowl holdouts, the ones that are actually voted in. They can actually go play the game then, because that's what they're doing is they're resting up for the Super Bowl.
And you make it sound simple, but this is the NFL.
And it's Roger Goodell.
They have Super Bowl cities picked out way before time. They're not going to do that. That's not happening.
No, that isn't what I meant. I don't mean the Super Bowl in that city. I mean that conference's team represented
home field. Yeah, like baseball.
The home field advantage.
Yes.
I mean, it's just something different. It's something to throw out there.
It would make it relevant.
Right.
Yeah,
really
because more people would watch it if it's in the middle of the season, like Jeremy says, than it is where it is now. Because as I said, where it is now, you know what I mean. It's right after the AF or the championship games to go to the Super Bowl, and there's that break in between there. But a lot of these players, and then like Jeremy said, those that are going to the Super Bowl or whatever won't be cutting out of the Pro Bowl. They'll actually participate in it.
That's what I was getting at. You'll actually get everybody that's voted into the Pro Bowl more interested in playing because they're not doing it the week before the Super Bowl. When it
until somebody gets hurt in the flag football, I don't know that problem.
When it was in Hawaii, it used to be 2 weeks after the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And many moons ago, before it even became what it is now, it used to be whoever won the world championship played all the Pro Bowlers from all the other teams combined. They put the best 52 men from all the other teams combined against them. And but believe it or not, the Super Bowl team would win more often than not. It was a more It was a better game to watch, but it also had hitting. It's 2010 as I think is when they started to go soft and they made it so you can't sack the quarterback and everything else. And every year it got progressively softer ever since then.
Yeah, I remember the last time I watched a Pro Bowl through and through was when Sean Taylor did that massive hit.
Level the kicker.
I was like, okay, this is great.
That was awesome.
Sean Taylor is a G for that shit.
Yeah, he is. I'm just saying, I don't think about, okay, that's fine. I don't think the flag football part of it should be, I think they should bring back skills challenges.
Yes,
that would work out better, I think. Yes.
Make that the whole thing. Because NFL is a whole different, football is a whole different sport.
It's a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal, Zilla. Yes.
You don't want players playing in flag football and get a chance to get hurt.
No.
First of all. Second of all, skill challenges are just as good. I love the skill challenges like they used to have back in the day when the skills like out there. Those are nice. You know,
when
I
you
like
had
those.
the quarterback accuracy one, then you had the strongest arm one, and then you had a foot race of sorts with like everybody passed this guy from the team. They would do a 4-man relay. Remember, they would set it up and it would be 8 deep, 4-man each, and they would do a relay race around the track. What was the other one? Tug of war. That's always been there.
They did the kicking thing, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they had the kicking.
They did a volleyball kind of thing too. I think one time they did a volleyball thing.
Running ball. I think the running backs had a gauntlet. Receivers had some kind of they had to play 1-on-1 with the corners. And the quarterbacks, I think that was in quarterbacks had a skill challenge. Kickers had a skill challenge. The offensive lineman, I think, had some kind of a skill challenge.
I think it was a sled thing.
Yeah, it was the sled. Who could move it the furthest without having to stop?
There you go. Yeah.
Put 3 coaches on it, and they didn't put 3 light coaches on there either. They put some big boys, and they said, "Okay, these 2 offensive linemen push it as far as you can." And then they'd measure the feet, and at the end of it, they would add up the feet, and whoever had the biggest total, that conference won the competition.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's like Dennis Green, a fat Rex Ryan, and Andy
Reid.
And Burger Man.
That was when Andy was at
Philly. Reed, yeah, Andy Reid, Burger Man.
You gonna eat those nuggets?
You gonna eat those nuggets? My dad tells me, he's like, dude, that's my favorite commercial. I'm like, yeah, I bet it is.
All those commercials with him in it are pretty funny. Just like the one with Patrick Mahomes and he wins the
and he pulls
thing
down
player. He goes, I gotta get a key back. I gotta lock this place up.
I gotta get it.
I like the Head and Shoulders commercial with Troy Polamalu, Little Troy.
I love
that's fun.
Troy.
All right, so, Ralph, what have you heard out of camp? Who's been looking good and what for the Steelers?
Well, as of right now, Joey Porter Jr. is looking pretty good. They said he's been well. Minka's back. Last year, Minka had an injury, and but he's back. We have Nate Herbig playing center right now. Supposedly, he's going to be the starting center, and they're going to work Zach Frazier in. Zach Frazier's done well, our second-round pick. Our first-round pick is doing really well. They put him at all different tackle and positions. So it's a good OTA for all of us. It's looking good. So, you know.
Now you guys picked up Sutton.
We just picked up Cam Sutton, yeah. Now it all depends on it is a good move. Even if he's down 8 games, at least we can come back if he gets a suspension or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen with that yet, you know. But we needed him, and Patrick Peterson's still sitting out there. We can bring him back too. So I mean, you know, I know he's not that great, but you know what? He was a good veteran leader in the clubhouse. He was very good. Leadership.
The best thing I can say about Cam Sutton, and it isn't the fact he's a Steeler. It's the fact that on Saturday, June 1st, NFL approved the void of his contract, which is why the Lions are sitting with $40 million unadjusted cap after you take off the $2.1 million dead cap hit for his roster bonuses and everything else. It actually is $38.3 million. Now, what's good about that is next season, when it's all said and done, if we don't spend this money like everybody wants us to, and it doesn't sound like we're going to, if you listen to Brad Holmes, He's happy with the roster as is. And I'm not saying, and he's been very forthright when he wants to do something, he goes out and does it. He's never pulled wool over our eyes. He told us he wasn't trading up to the front of the draft to get anybody, and he didn't. And I said it's either going to be a trade back or we move up 3 to 5 spots to get somebody. It was 5 spots. And we took Arnold right ahead of the Packers. And Gutekunst, 3 weeks after the draft, did a press release calling Brad Holmes a thief because he stole another corner he wanted.
Well, Jeremy, what's good about that is Brad Holmes is a patient man. I mean,
Right.
you get some of these GMs, they just flip the switch and boom. You know what I mean? He's a patient man, and he waited, and he got what he wanted. And sometimes patience can be a virtue. That can be what you need.
And he said repeatedly he likes the way the secondary is now with our 2 rookies, the 2 people we added, and the depth from the UDFAs that we kept from last year. And they're there for depth. Khalil Dorsey getting hurt, with him being a core special teamer, we don't know how serious the injury is. I know it's a lower leg injury. He may be back by the season.
He'll be all right.
I think he'll be fine. I didn't hear it was anything major, but he did have to be carted off the field. I mean, when it's a lower leg and you can't run, you're going to be carted off the field. That's all there is to it. Hey, JB, what's your will?
I'm Will.
Patience is a virtue, but patience always lies. Greg House, MD.
No, we don't need Xavier Howard. We don't need any more corners. We don't. Unless 2 or 3 of them go down, we don't need any corners. I just don't see that happening.
Because right now, on the depth chart, if you go look at DetroitLions.com, Kendall Vildor was listed behind Khalil Dorsey and Stephen Gilmore. So he's really not. He's still like CB5 or 6 on this roster right now, even with Dorsey being hurt, which means the chances of seeing him take the field were about as good as seeing Will Harris play more than 18 snaps last year.
Again, we're basing this on OTAs, though. Just remember
that.
That's going to change dramatically through the season, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I think Gilmore needs a chance. I mean, what he did last year in preseason
was amazing. For
the
a
dude
guy
is playing like his brother.
I think Gilmore needs a shot at the dime at best, because right now with who we got, we already heard that it's looking like it's Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold, according to what every beat writer that was there has said, because of how they're locking down the outside. I mean, guys are going to get open. People are going to get beat. It will happen. There is no maybe about that. Even the best guys get beat every now and then. Because if primetime Sanders never got beat, guess what? He'd have beat Paul Cross's career interception record.
Even that, nobody would be. But regardless of that whole situation, it's just the secondary just got to play as a unit. Last year, they didn't play too much as a unit. Nobody was communicating too much. Everybody was kind of doing their own thing in certain spots. And, the one thing I keep trying to tell people about the NFC Championship, it's also about what the defensive coordinator does. AG switched that defense around in the second half and didn't give Sutton any help. Sutton was locking down Debo, and they just didn't give him no help in the second half. They just switched the defense, the back end of this defense around. I was like, dude, what's going on here? Why is Sutton getting burned like this all of a sudden? It's because he wasn't bringing safety help over to his side. So they were capitalizing on that.
And the
move, I'm sorry to interrupt. We'll go ahead and finish.
Okay. And the move of making Brian Branch more the starting strong safety and moving Kirby Joseph to the position where he flourished while Tracy Walker was hurt the year before, I think that's a great move, because the free safety is more of your single high safety, which is what Kirby Joseph did great his rookie year. And strong safety is more of your in the box, covering the guys underneath. Fantasy Q, Laporta repeats his record performance this year, or does his number go a bit down with JMO's emergence? I don't think whatever JMO does is going to affect how Laporta plays. because in all actuality, they're hitting him deep. They're hitting him on slant routes. They're hitting him on out routes. He struggled a little bit yesterday, but he had a bounce back day today. And Dan Campbell has said repeatedly he looks like the most improved player on offense. And that is a huge statement. And then maybe everybody needs to jump off this JMO's going to be a bust thing. Because
I'm tired of hearing that.
Yeah, I am tired of hearing it. Cameron, what do you think about what you've heard out of camp so far with what I said?
I haven't really been paying attention to OTAs. I've seen a lot of good, though. I haven't seen all that many negatives coming out. I've seen that Terrion Arnold's been going head-to-head with St. Brown, and I would prefer that over anything with Terrion solely because iron sharpens iron. If Terrion can lock down St. Brown, there's not really a receiver that he's going to struggle with in the league outside of maybe Jettis or Lamb.
And last year when we signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he was predominantly a free safety. Tracy Walker came back healthy. He was predominantly a free safety. They were forced to move Kirby Joseph to start at strong safety last year. And you could see he never truly looked comfortable. He looked good tackling. He looked good in a couple of plays here and there.
It wasn't what
we saw the year before.
No, it wasn't the Kirby Joseph that picked off Aaron Rodgers twice. It wasn't the Kirby Joseph that sent Aaron Rodgers scrambling to New York. He wasn't as confident. He wasn't as comfortable, and it was very evident. So I think moving him back
because they started GJ. That's the reason why Kirby lost that. When you do stuff like, and I thought if anything was bad about that whole season, that was a bad signing by the Lions. I liked it at first, but then when he came in here and started acting a damn fool and talking about the hood, man, get out of here with that.
Here's my thing is with the CJ, we want that kind of fire and that kind of spirit. Could he have conducted himself better? Absolutely, 110%. However, coming back in the postseason and making several large plays as he did, I'm not going to hold anything against CJ.
I'm going to say something, and it's right, and Bistrillo will probably back me up on it. He had big plays versus the Rams and versus the Bucks, but he disappeared in that 49ers game, and he took a stupid penalty on that punt return.
Yeah,
that lost us.
He took a penalty against Debo, which DC told him don't do that kind of dumb stuff. And he missed like about a plethora of tackles. I mean, he whiffed on some tackles. I was like, dude.
And I think that personal penalty against Debo, because anybody who knows anything knows that Debo and CJ have legitimate issues with each other. I think that honestly played a big part in him not getting a contract extension. You can't keep a cool head on the field.
In the chat, RXJ makes another good point. Another thing I'm tired of hearing about is Broderick Martin is a bust. He didn't have but 17 or 18 snaps last season, and we don't know what we have with him. He's good off season so far.
So he was like a third rounder, right?
He was a late third rounder, a compensatory pick, which technically
I don't even know why people are on that train in the first place. The guy's got to develop. You give rookies 3 years to develop.
I was going to say you can't call anyone a bust after 1 year.
Right, you can't.
We've been hearing that, and I also heard somebody in the chat because they said Manu's struggling at camp. He's going to be a bust. I was like, he hasn't even played a down in the NFL yet. What are you talking about?
He's a work in progress. Everybody's been saying that.
Right.
What part of that doesn't anybody understand?
I know.
He's a work in progress.
Actually worked on his body to get in better shape so he can improve his bend. If you look, he lost that big ass belly he had.
He's a monster now.
He looks like he just dropped down to about 320, 325, I heard. And he doesn't have that belly at that 6'5" height. That makes your bend easier if your belly isn't hitting your thighs when you're bending over. Trust me, I know. I got a spare tire. It gets in my way when I'm trying to be tired.
Didn't DJ Reader also watch Broderick's tape
That's the other thing I want to do. DJ Reader went back and watched all 18 snaps in the 3 games that Broderick Martin worked in. And he said what he did good and what he needs to work on, what he needs to continue to do. The one thing he said is there's moves you could do when you're in those double teams to break a double team that he didn't know how to do. And he said, you definitely need to get lower because you got knocked right on your ass in the one play when you were too upright. He only got knocked backwards like that one time in 18 snaps in 3 games. But the fact that you got 18 snaps and he took on 10 double teams, how many double teams did Benito Jones take on last year to free up Lee McNeil?
None that I'm aware of.
Right. Exactly my point. That first game that I think Broderick Martin played was the first time they benched Bugs because he had a problem with AG, and that was versus the Bucks, if I remember.
All right, Jeremy, I have my my source down at the Steeler office just text me. Cool. Mason McCormick, our 4th-round pick, is doing well in OTAs. He's blowing people off the line. He's from South Dakota State. He was a 4th-round pick. He's a lineman, offensive lineman. Beanie Bishop from West Virginia. Only reason he didn't get picked was because he was hurt. Okay. And then Corey Trice is also doing something. He come in with he was drafted in the 7th round last year, but got hurt in training camp. And then Dacian Edwards, the running back from Georgia, that didn't get picked up in the draft. The running backs in the draft this year were terrible. Nobody really got picked up till later rounds. So
yeah, the first one went midway through the second round.
Not a running back draft, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And RXJ, as I'm a trust Brad Holmes guy for life, so I don't understand these people calling Manu and Martin a bust. Trust these picks will be good. I mean, the only guy that you can say is a black mark out of the picks so far, and it's just because of the injury history, Levi Onwuzurike, Chase Lucas, because he's not on the team. He got picked up in waivers. That doesn't mean they weren't going to bring him back. This was before we had set the 90 men that we were going into training camp with. He got picked up on waivers. Jameer Jefferson. You have to say that he's, at this point, a bum. 3 years in and done nothing.
Who's that?
Jameer Jefferson, the 7th round pick from year 1. The running back.
Yeah. I think another thing too about this whole situation too, a lot of people are throwing, just like I told people at the beginning of the season, Brian Branch is playing safety. I don't care which. Oh, he's going to be at the nickel. No, he's not. We got too many nickel guys.
Right.
We don't need the nickel. We don't need Branch to play the nickel unless somebody devastatingly gets lost in that shuffle, gets hurt. Brian Branch is starting at safety. DC said it. I don't know where the translation was lost. Nobody's like, oh, I trust in Brad Holmes and DC, but you're not listening to him. Then on top of that, Vinay, who we picked up in the draft, everybody's, oh, he's going to be on a running back chart. No, you're going to be special teams. Look, the dude didn't start off as a running back. He started off as safety in college. He had that one good year as a running back. Look, you got 3 capable running backs ahead of him, okay?
Right.
Jamar Jefferson might surprise. You never know. But you still got the Jets guy that's there.
So, and Bam McKnight.
Yeah. So I mean, don't expect so much from him. All right. You say these other 2 guys are bust, but you're loathing this guy that he's great and everything like that. Okay, he is, but on special teams is where he's going to start. I'm sorry. That's where
he's not going to make it up the depth chart there, Zilla, and that's right. You're right about that. You know, he's going to have to pay his dues, and he has to start out on special teams like they all do. You know.
One thing I will say in Baki's defense, and the reason why everybody's glowing about him at camp, is that in the blocking situations, he's done much better in the pass blocking than Craig Reynolds has done. He also has been a better receiver out of the backfield, because we all saw when Craig Reynolds was in the one game when both running backs got hurt, he couldn't catch a cold.
So I wanted to speak on the Levi thing because I do believe that I saw positive reports on Levi as well this week.
He added 15 pounds, so that means he went from his 290 to 305. And they're playing him inside and outside more, doing a little bit of both, trying to see if he can do anything. That's what it is. Because so far Levi's done nothing.
I think Levi is on the precipice of being gone. And I think what they're doing is they're trying to give, because people come and watch, other teams, scouts will come and watch, some of the OTAs that are allowed to and see other teams. They're going to say, look, come in here and look at Levi, see if you want him on team and we can trade him to you for somebody, or, if we let him go, you might want him, blah, blah, blah. So they got tape on him. So,
Yep.
Will
has some Panthers news for us. He just went and
looked
Will.
Up. What do you got? Go ahead with your Panthers news, man.
So Bryce Young is developing actually very nicely in training camp. Dave Canales said he's grasping the new offense very nicely. Canales, I was on Ralph's show the other day, saying that Geno Smith was a miserable quarterback before Dave Canales got a hold of him. Oh, one sec, sorry, that just moved me down. What the heck? Okay, every time there's a message, it moves me down. Sorry.
My bad.
I was like, what the heck?
To the Panthers.
But as I was saying, yeah, he's grasping the offense well. Geno Smith struggled before Canal helped him, and then he helped Baker Mayfield have a good year. And then the other guy who I've heard a lot about is Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. He's a veteran. He was quoted saying, I had to adapt when I got there because Ben was in his 16th year, Big Ben. And then he passed his teachings from Big Ben to Kenny Pickett, and now he's with another young QB. And the key is to have patience with a young QB like Bryce Young, even though I did want Stroud, like but you have to have patience with the young quarterback. And the problem, I like having Deontay Johnson because Thielen, as we know, was a number 2 in Minnesota, but he was the number 1 in Carolina. And yes, he was good, but he just got overused, and teams were catching on to that.
All right, we do have a couple chats to address here.
Yeah, Thielen's not a number 1 anyway. He's more of a number 2.
No, he's the number 2 by far.
Because of
He's
his
also
size.
70 years old and
Kind of like
white.
we did Sutton.
Right.
Sutton was never a number 1 corner. He should have been a number 2 or a nickel. He should never have been put in that position.
Yoli Cruz comes in. She says, hello, everyone. She is a Packer fan, and I have no hate for Packer fans that are realistic. It's great. Orlando says, just keep pounding. And RXJ, Panthers fans are pounding all right. They're pounding the beer after last season.
We are. We're still
You guys will have a better season this year. I think you got a great. Your offensive line improved tremendously, and that is something that your young quarterback needs. Bryce needs that.
Keegan, I didn't say.
Well, let me answer the question about Kenny Pickett here. Kenny Pickett is in Philly right now, and he has a good offensive coordinator there in Kellen Moore, which I think is way better than Matt Canada. Okay, he had his opportunity here in Pittsburgh, whined like a little baby when they brought in Russell Wilson, and that sent a message to him for competition. He said, "I'm not competing for my job, want it out." Now we have 2 really good quarterbacks after we got rid of our starter Kenny Pickett, and then don't spell out 3rd-string quarterback Kyle Allen. He was under Josh Allen up in Buffalo, and he did pretty well for himself. So we have 3 really good quarterbacks compared to the bums we had in the past, Trubisky, and then we had Pickett. But Mason Rudolph was the key there, and it's too bad that Mike Tomlin didn't give him enough love. He saved Mike Tomlin's job, and he saved Mike Tomlin, and now Mike Tomlin's going to get an extension because of Mason Rudolph.
I think Kenny Pickett failed because Matt Canada was the quarterback. You got to understand something,
or
too.
the offensive coordinator, yeah.
You do remember that Kenny Pickett failed under Matt Canada at Pitt, right?
At Pitt, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So,
he wasn't good till Mark Whipple showed up.
But this is
wasn't good till Mark Whipple.
By Pittsburgh, because I was like, okay, now you got Matt Canada as an offensive coordinator. Now you're going to bring Kenny Pickett over here, and he failed when Matt Canada was over there. And when they got coordinator,
he was only with Matt Canada 1 year at Pitt, and that was it. That was his freshman year. And then the last 3 years he was with Mark Whipple. And Mark Whipple, I kept saying, if you're going to keep Kenny Pickett, bring Mark Whipple in to help him out, because Mark Whipple was his offensive coordinator at Pitt, and he whipped him into shape.
So
my
only shot about Mitch Trubisky is, as bad as everybody says he is, he would have won that game at Cordy Park. He wouldn't have double doinked off a field goal post.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky looked like a Hall of Famer every time he played the Lions.
This is true. He would put up 300 some yards.
He's back in Buffalo now, so let's see what he does up in Buffalo.
It is, man. Mitch Trubisky was a very good quarterback for Chicago.
He was. Yes, he was. Yes.
Well.
Yeah. So, and he had a good coach up there too. Matt Nagy was there. Matt Nagy is good at working with quarterbacks. Just a jerk as a head coach. I mean,
Cameron comes in and says he has a little bit of news out of Dallas because he's down in Texas, but he is a Lions fan. So what's your news there, buddy?
So, I mean, it's mostly generic. Everyone's kind of already seen it, but I'm sure everyone's seen where Parsons and CeeDee Lamb are holding out on OTAs right now. With the Jefferson signing, Lamb is not taking anything less than what Jefferson got. So that's gonna which I don't know if it's because Jerry Jones was comatose.
Here comes Jerry loves the big deal.
So right. I don't know if this is why
CeeDee Lamb get more than Jefferson somehow.
It'll be $140,153,000.
Oh, he's got to pay him, because if he doesn't, and besides, that's what the market demands. First of all, second of all, he's got to pay him that. If he don't pay him that, he's walking.
So this is where I'll say Jerry Jones was smart. Here's the thing. If Jerry Jones was smart with his comatose strategy in the offseason, it leaves a lot of cap room for him to give Lamb a bigger deal. However, from what I've heard, if Dak doesn't produce throughout the next year or two, he's gone. Dallas is going to move on from
the last year of Dak's contract.
Okay, so then it would be he'd be gone out of this year. Parsons has said,
I'm getting sick of people bombing on
Jeremy. I hate to interrupt here, Jeremy. I have to leave. I have another show I have to be on. So everyone have a great one.
Nice to have you, Ralph.
All right, same here. Thank you. And you can catch me or Ralph Williams, RW Media on YouTube. And I have several shows. Check them all out. Will was just on my show yesterday. So on Sports Corner. Check it out every Tuesday, 4 to 6 p.m. with me, Ralph Williams, and Smoking Jim Frazier. So, all right, I always have some great guests on. So have a good one. And then the last half hour, we talk professional wrestling. Have a great one. Thank you.
I need to hop in your show.
All right.
I don't have anything against Dak. Dak is a good quarterback, yes. However, that's all he is good. He's not great. He's not phenomenal. Here's the thing. Dak has had how many OCs in his time in Dallas?
Let me tell you something. When you get your butt kicked by Jordan Love and a young Green Bay Packers squad, it's not just Dak that's having a problem. No, it's a defense. The defense didn't. They allowed 30-something points on them. So I mean,
Aaron Jones is their kryptonite.
So here's the thing, and I was going to bring that up as well with Micah Parsons now holding out on NTA because Micah Parsons wants that big contract extension. Here's the thing. Micah Parsons, phenomenal in the regular season, top tier player in the regular season. How many postseasons has he just absolutely disappeared in now? 2, 3, and he hasn't done he's done nothing in the offseason or in the postseason. And now he's holding out an OTA saying, "Oh, well, they're voluntary and all defensive edge work is one-on-one. There's nothing one-on-one that I can't do by myself or with my trainer."
Here's the thing a lot of people miss. There is $101,253 worth of fines just for missing the 3 days of OTA.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you also get the mandatory rookie cap workout bonus of $150,000 you miss out on. So it actually costs each one of these players to sit out $250,000. Now, if they're a first-round pick and in the last year, they're guaranteed it as the fourth year somewhere between $4 and $10 million, depending on where they were picked in the first round. Correct?
Yeah, something like that.
So at that point, if they want to hold out, doing it even at the mandatory mini camp, it isn't that big of money to them.
No,
it's a drop.
James Burgess.
We've seen bigger fines for penalties.
Yeah, James Burgess kind of hit the nail on the head with Michael wanting to be the highest paid non-QB in the NFL, which now Justin Jefferson is the highest paid non-QB in the NFL. Here's the thing. Micah Parsons is great, but let's go down the list of great defensive ends in the league. Let's throw some names out there. So you got like Max Crosby,
Watt,
Aiden Hutchinson,
Garrett,
Bosa,
Watt.
Donald. I know he just retired, but Aaron
Hutchinson.
Donald was up there, Aiden Hutchinson. And it's like you've got all these players, and Micah's great, but he's in the same conversation as them, and they're still not sitting here hounding their front office about this.
I mean,
Aaron Donald
was Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald deserved to be the highest paid defensive end at any point in time. The dude was an absolute stud and lending about everything every year he's been in the league.
Do you know what Aaron Donald thinks the defense?
Parsons is the one out of those three with the smallest chance to get re-signed.
Aiden Hutchinson. I'm going to disagree with you, Undone. I'm going to disagree with you.
The league in pressures last year had double-digit sacks. I think only Myles Garrett was close at second place for pressures last year, right?
Yep. Has not been all-pro yet.
It's only his second year. But at the same time, he's mentioned with those guys by PFF. So you're wrong.
He's also been to one, if not two, Pro Bowls. Did he go to the Pro Bowl last year, or was he an alternative?
He was an alternate last year, but he was.
He was an alternate in his rookie year. He was an alternate in the Pro Bowl his rookie year.
No, that's his second year. He was voted into the Pro Bowl his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. He's also had I'm pretty sure he's one of the only defensive ends the last couple of years to have at least one interception marked in both seasons. Because he had three his rookie year, and he had one last year. Hutchinson,
he set a rookie record for a defensive end.
Yeah, he tied the record with two other guys, and let me name them for you. It's Richard Dent and Lawrence Taylor. They are the only guys with 9+ sacks, 3 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles.
I think he overdid them too.
All pro.
But he had more of the solo tackles. He did have more solo tackles, but all 3 of them had 9.5 sacks and 3 interceptions.
Here's the thing. All pro, Pro Bowl, all that shit is laughable because it's just stat based. You look at it.
No. Pro Bowl is laughable.
Yeah.
All pro means something.
By your peers in the media.
Okay.
Pro Bowl is fan based.
Still, he's in a division or in a conference with Micah Parsons, Aaron Donald, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby.
No, Max Crosby's the other conference.
Oh yeah, that's right. My bad. Yeah, Raiders. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm just coming in. I'm a little number two overall pick for a reason, but keep in mind he outperformed the number 1 overall pick that same draft the last 2 years.
Yep. You got it.
What was it? Kayvon Thibodeau that was drafted before him and hasn't done a damn thing in 2 years?
No.
It was that Jags dude.
Who was it? Who was it?
It was the guy with the Jacksonville.
That's right. Trayvon. Thibodeau came third. Thibodeau was third, right?
Like 5th.
Thibodeau plays for the Giants.
Yeah,
but he was third.
Yeah.
Third defensive end picked, yeah.
And Richard was a nobody, said Eric Hipple shortly before Richard Dent wrecked his brain permanently.
And Orlando, I just want to tell you, Dak equal James Harden of the NFL. That's a great example right there. Great example.
Great in the regular season, falls apart in the postseason. Both of them have done the same thing.
Dallas is just falls apart. I can't even just blame it on Dak. Micah can't tackle. Nobody knows how to defend. Gilmore was getting picked on like he was a stepchild in that game. I mean, everybody failed.
Where was
every
Deron
year
Bland
they
again?
fail in the playoffs?
Where was Deron Bland again? Wasn't he injured?
Yeah. I mean, Amon St. Brown was killing Bland. He was killing
Gibbs burned Bland.
Amon St. Brown is why he wasn't in the playoffs. If you remember,
J-Mo burned Bland.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
J-Mo burned the absolute piss out of Bland.
But with J-Mo's got speed. Amon St. Brown doesn't have speed like that, and he was still killing him.
St. Brown's one of the best route runners in the league.
Yeah,
still killing him. To Khalil Dorsey, he had a lower leg injury where he had to be carted off the field because he couldn't walk. They expect him back by the beginning of the season.
Yep.
The more apt comparison for Dak is Kirk Cousins with a better brand.
So Dak Cousins, Kirk Prescott, like Jerry and I have been saying for the last few years.
I've been saying it for 2 years. It's Dak Cousins and Kirk Prescott. Because they got the same exact postseason. Bring back Nevin Lawson. Why?
Yeah, why?
Please,
and did you see the comment where he said, I think
Stephen Tulloch is better than Lawrence Taylor.
So,
Dak over Goff? Now I know you're nuts because the only thing Dak better is throws a better deep ball, but Dak has no clutch factor in the postseason.
So
I mean, I don't want to get no Goff conversation because people won't like what I got to say about him. Like I said, Goff is a capable quarterback when he's got everything around him.
Exactly.
And it's been shown in LA when he don't have something around him, he folds. That's just what Goff is. You have to accept that. That's what the Lions did. They built around him.
Right.
So
he's not Matt Stafford. He's not Matt Stafford.
And Jeremy has a great quote about Goff. If I'm not wrong, Jeremy, you said he's the quarterback that won't win you a game or lose you a game.
Exactly.
I said that years ago.
Yeah. I learned football from my dad.
I never learned how to play football.
He also won more playoff
around
games in his
football?
first 2 tries than any quarterback of the Lions since the 50s.
And again, that's just not a testament to the quarterback. The quarterback's part of the equation. The team, I don't like that when people equal out.
I mean, it wasn't him that won the game.
Goff is part of a team. That team was built to win playoff games. That team was built to win. The team is built to win now. And if they don't get in the Super Bowl this year, I think it's a disappointment.
Right.
Because they should be there.
If you look, did anyone have us going to the NFC Championship game prior to the season starting last year?
I did. I have the screenshots. I called it. Jeremy seen it. Last January 2023, I said, and I quote, next year we will see the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship. I called it. Jeremy seen it. So yes, I did. I did.
I'm saying the average fan and the average podcaster because you just got in there when you showed me that. Did you think that last year, Bistrilla, at all prior to the season starting?
I was expecting big things, but no, I wasn't like Cameron. I didn't think that they were going to make it to the NFC conference. I thought they would win at least a game, a playoff game. Once the season got going, though, I was like, they might could do this. Then they won the second playoff game. I was like, okay, they could do it. And then when they had that lead in the first quarter, the first half against San Francisco,
God, I was celebrating. I was like,
dude, this can't be happening. I didn't even picture this.
If you look at that, we made it all the way to the NFC Championship game with the 27th passing defense. And it was mostly that bad due to the third quarter.
I don't think the 49ers will be in the NFC Championship again this year.
No, because you know why? Because the Lions will have the number 1 seed anyway. I'm already predicting that.
Who you got, Jeremy?
Don't be so sure about that.
Well,
I don't know who's going to beat them. Who? San Francisco. I'm telling you something. When you have a revamped offense, that's going to. Defense. That's going to cure a lot of problems. That was our problem in the NFC Championship game, that defense. Not just the defense, but I think RG has something to, he has players to work with. He didn't have players to work with last year, and they still managed to get to the NFC Championship. They made bad mistakes in that game by switching over in the second half.
Right.
Being that said, number 1 seed, man. I don't think San Francisco's the team everybody thinks they are. They're not good. They're not. They're not better than the Lions. I don't think there's any team in the NFC right now that's better than the Lions. I don't.
I want to address something that James Bear just said a little bit
Billy,
ago.
maybe.
Okay. He had said, is it just me, or if Jerry Jones would just dial out all the Cowboys soap opera BS, they might get better results? And that's 100% what it is. Jerry goes for kind of does the same thing that Quinn and Patricia did. They go for the big names. Dak looked phenomenal.
Here we go. Is undone. Now we have a CB who is always hurt, Davis, and another CB who is slow, Arnold. Go look up top speeds tracked by GPS in the NCAA by cornerbacks last year. Number 4 was Rakestraw. Number 6 was Terrion Arnold. Some people just don't run good 40 times in their gym shorts.
Let's also not forget the fact that Terrion Arnold shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a top 3 route runner in the NFC, if not the entire NFL. Or did you miss that report today? It was clearly stated Terrion Arnold picked off Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And then Amon-Ra St. Brown got a touchdown on him. But
like I said, iron sharpens iron.
And
Arnold picked off St. Brown. St. Brown
touchdown on Carlton Davis.
Exactly, Orlando. Exactly. Game speed and track speed are not the same.
Exactly. We've said that before.
Undone. Stop coming in here with that stuff, man. Stop coming in here with that stuff.
As Dan Campbell came out and said, game film means more to us than combine.
That's what they've done. That's like practice, not a game, though. Okay,
it's true, though, but we did not do enough at corner.
And that's true. I agree with you on that. It's OTAs. I understand.
Here's the thing. You're Undone's talking practice, not a game, though. All right, cool. Go look at Terrion Arnold's college film. Go look at Rakestraw's college film. This is the stuff that Holmes, Campbell, and the rest of our front office look at. They don't care about the combine. They don't care about all the extra shit. They care about what's on the game tape. And if you see something you like on game tape, I would look. You can look phenomenal in practice. That's all great and good. I can come watch a college football game, and I'm going to see something way different than I do in practice.
There was a tell on where we were drafting out of. John Dorsey went to 5 teams pro days. You want to know what 5 teams they were? Alabama, Missouri, Utah, British Columbia, and Boston College.
You went to Canada.
And think of it this way, too. Speed is not something that makes you better. It enhances what you do. If that was the case, all these fast corners that come into the league would still be in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cornerbacks have to have instincts. That's what you're looking for on film. You're not looking for if they can keep up with a fast guy, because 9 out of 10, you're going to get beat once in a while, okay? You're not looking for that. They're looking for the instincts of the corner. If the corner picks up good instincts, like we got with Robertson, that dude, if you ever watch game film on him, actual NFL game, he's just like Brian Branch. He sniffs out plays behind the line, and he's fast to get to him. That's what Brian Branch does. Those are instinct plays. That's what a cornerback has to have. Speed is not a necessity. He can't be slow, granted, but he what speed that he has right now is fine for the position he plays.
The only time
I don't hear that.
What was Darius Slay, like a 4.6?
Yeah, Darius Slay wasn't fast either, and he was you got to have instincts. That's all there is to it.
Here's the thing: is the only time speed is an absolute #1 priority as a cornerback is when you're guarding a man like Tyreek Hill, and that's just because he's an anomaly. It's ridiculous. If you're not fast enough.
Let me say the best speed cornerbacks, like Deion Sanders, for instance. That dude was hot fast. Jerry Rice used to kill him all the time, though.
I was
because Jerry Rice used to know how to get him.
Speed all day.
Doesn't always. He doesn't have popular belief makes you think Deion was the greatest corner. He was, because his speed made up for a lot of his mistakes he made as a skill player. So speed helps you make up mistakes. I guess that's what I could say. But if you're not making them in the first place, you don't have to worry about speed. You know what I'm saying?
The only thing that separates Deion from a lot of other corners was he guessed right a lot more than the next guy.
He guessed wrong, right.
And the other thing is, you you talk about reaction and everything, and it is essential. You got to know how you're going to react to it. Who was it? Julio Jones that would sit here and tell players at the line exactly what play he was going to run, and then run that play on them and be successful. I can't remember if it was Julio Jones or someone else, but they didn't know how to react to it.
again, is undone is throwing up 40 times speed.
Nobody cares about 40 times speed. It's not essential anymore. 40 times speed, I could see being essential if you're looking at a running back or even an outside wide receiver.
And that was my point. No CB that we've had, young or old, has gotten better in their tenure under AG. But at the same time, we've had a plethora of guys that he's brought in to be the assistant that helps with the DBs. So is it all on AG? Maybe, maybe not. Has he had this level of talent across the board? And don't forget, we still got Emmanuel Mosley that nobody's talking about yet.
Yeah, he got a 1-year contract extension, and that was, I got a lot of flack from about that from some of my buddies down here in Texas. They're like, y'all signed a receiver or a cornerback who his first game back retore his ACL, but y'all let CJ go.
But
yes,
wait. He tore the opposite ACL though.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same ACL.
Yeah.
But that's why he's got a 1-year deal and he's not a starter no more.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to be depth piece. He'll be a rotational piece that comes in and gives somebody a break. If we got 2 super fast guys on a team that we're facing, what's Mosley's cap hit? $1.9 million.
Non-existent. Non-existent. And here's the thing. The reason another big reason we re-signed Mosley, not CJ Gardner-Johnson, Mosley was willing to take the pay cut because he wants to be here. He truly wants to be here. He is here for the team. He is here for a ring. He's not like CJ, I'm just here for the money.
It's nice to hear that from players now, isn't it?
Right.
You know how many players we've had take pay cuts?
It's like Amik Robinson when you got him as a free. He said, "I want to come here. I just wanted to come there. That's what I wanted to do."
Here's the thing, Jared Goff. We got so much shit because of Jared Goff's contract and how big it was. Yes, it looks like a lot of money. You break it down, not that big of a hit. At the same time, his biggest deal, the thing he wanted the most, the thing that he was pushing for, no trade clause. He wants to be in Detroit. We have players that want to be here.
Right. But at the same time, if you look at the way it's structured, it is a 2-year window for Goff. Because if he doesn't get the job done and get us to the promised land, which even Sheila Hamp came out at the uniform reveal and said that was the goal. She actually said, we made it into the playoffs. We won a couple games. Now we want to hoist the Lombardi. That's the goal. So it's a 2-year window. And I said when we signed him, I think I said it on your program when I first started watching you, Bistrilla. I said, you watch. It'll either be 2025 or 2026. The Lions will win a Super Bowl. I said that in your chat, if I remember right, on the show when you guys were live, and you were like, wow, that's a bold prediction. Because this was back in 2021 when I first started watching you, and you were like, that's a bold prediction. Why do you say that? I said, because 3 years, we're going to be in the playoffs. And that's the natural progression. You get to the playoff. I only expected 1 playoff win, possibly lose in the divisional round. But we lucked out, and the Bucks won and had to come to Detroit, who already got fleeced when we were in their house. They could not deal with the loudness of the Detroit crowd. When they couldn't deal with it in an open stadium, they couldn't deal with it in a dome.
Didn't we set noise records for indoor stadiums, both in the wild card and the division round? Yeah.
We got 2 decibels louder versus Tampa Bay than we got
with the Rams.
And I was more worried about the Rams than I was worried about the Bucks.
Right.
I was like, same. The Bucks.
And here's the thing: is I have called it the last 3 years where we were going to end up under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Our first year, we're going to have a rough year. We're starting a rebuild. 3-13-1. Great. Year 2, I told one of my buddies, I was like, we're going to be playoff contenders. We may not make it to the playoffs, but we're going to come damn close. Finished 9-8. Just barely missed the wild card spot.
We were 30 seconds away from a Rams win of going.
Yeah. January 2023. I texted one of my best friends who's a 49ers fan. I said, next year we're going to see the Lions and the 49ers in the NFC Championship. And what did we have this year?
I mean, from 3 to 9.
What do you got next
to
year,
one
Cam?
bad quarter from
What
the
do we got
Super
that
Bowl,
shit?
Yeah.
Not making any promises, but I'm smelling a little bit of a Super Bowl here.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I think we have the team to get there. We
do.
So who are we praying for to beat Mahomes in the AFC Championship game? Because we
Fuck
could
Mahomes.
beat
Mahomes is 0-2 against golf. Why do we need anyone to beat him in the AFC Championship? Bring his
That's
ass
what I
to the
want it to
Super
be.
Bowl.
Because I want Kansas City to go there, have that confidence, and say, "Oh, we got to play the Lions in the Super Bowl. We're gonna get our 3-peat." No, you ain't, bro. No, you ain't.
they're.
Listen, I got a bitter
Chiefs
ass
are
baby mama.
officially scared of us.
Listen, I got a bitter baby mama who's a Chiefs fan. I would love nothing more than a rub in her face that my team cost her team the 3-peat.
Are we watching Hard Knock Chicago? I'll watch it on repeat.
Maybe just for the humor of it.
I want to see the dumpster fire.
Go ahead.
Rare cat cameo. Rare cat cameo.
What?
You know, it's funny.
If we get to that Super Bowl, where's it played at this year? New Orleans. What is it? A dome. The last time.
And think about it this way, too. It's a homecoming in sorts for Dan Campbell and friends.
Right. Here's the thing. The last time Pat Mahomes lost the Super Bowl, it was in a dome.
In a dome.
Mahomes doesn't do well in open.
Patrick Mahomes.
Do you
You think they will include the gay clips of Caleb? Probably.
That's what
when I was at the draft.
You know, Undone, sometimes you kind of piss me off by some of the comments you do, but then some of them are just hilarious.
No,
dude,
Jeremy's
like
got a story about that.
Okay, so I'm at the draft day one, and I'm in the media press room because all 11 guys that were there got picked, right? So we're waiting, and normally they were coming up 2 hours after being drafted, except for Caleb because he was, first overall, so he had to do the car wash with ESPN, NFL Network, and all that stuff before he got up there. So we were like 6 of the guys in, and finally he gets up there, and one of the Chicago reporters said, "Hey, Caleb, can you give us a Bears down?" As he was leaving, he leans over, he grabs the mic, he goes, "Go Bears!"
Tell him the nickname. Tell him the nickname.
LGBTQB1. I named him that immediately.
I just, I don't. I'm going to put it to you this way about Caleb Williams. I mean, I hope the guy does well. I do, not against us, obviously. Right. But as much as Chicago fans are talking up, oh, my God, these people, Chicago Bear fans are like the worst.
I had a
We'll
Chicago Bears.
we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to be the best
quarterback.
offense in the league.
Not even Jesus can save him now.
Right. I had a Bears fan try and tell me that he's never heard of Barry Sanders being in the GOAT running back conversation.
What?
He literally, there was 3 reasons he retired. 2 of them had to do with the front office and coaching with the Lions. The third one was he did not want to break Walter Payton's record. He quit with only 1,200 yards to go.
Yeah. One of my buddies broke down hold on, because I actually have it right here.
He didn't want to beat Walter Payton's record? I didn't know that.
No, he did not. Here's the spread here.
I don't think he actually really said that. I just think he didn't care about breaking a record. I think that was just Barry in persona. That's all that was. But Barry got tired of the organization.
Out of the game. The 16th game of his rookie year because he didn't care about winning the rushing title.
Here's the thing.
Getting killed.
Here's the thing, because I've had this debate with one of my buddies. Jeremy, you might have seen it on my Facebook. I know you have me on there. I always have one of my friends because he has this like saved to the notes in his phone because he's had to make this argument before. He said, okay, so both players averaged about 20 carries a game. Peyton averaged 4.4 yards a carry, Sanders 5.0. Peyton played 37 more games than Sanders. So put 5 yards a carry to 20 attempts a game for 190 games, which is how many Peyton played, would put Sanders at 19,190 career rushing yards. To carry Sanders 0.6 touchdowns a game, Sanders would have had to finish with about 123 to 110. An argument for different generations isn't in play as the 70s to late 90s was the same type of game. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but has more Pro Bowls, All-Pro, and Offensive Player of the Year than Peyton.
It doesn't. None of that shit matters except yards per carry.
Is undone.
Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and currently there's one other one with the requisite number of carries, Nick Chubb. Those are the Jamal Charles doesn't count. He doesn't have enough carries. Those are the only guys at 5 or more. Derrick Henry was there, but he dipped below it.
Who?
Derrick Henry. He was at 5, but now he's under.
My man that played for Minnesota.
Cook?
Peterson?
Peterson.
He's like 4.6, 4.7.
4.7.
I thought he had like a 5.1.
Hell no.
He was at one time. He was at one time.
Yeah, at one point he was.
Because he played so long, it continually dropped.
I want to address what Undone just said about Gibbs being better than Barry. Here's the thing is, I think skill-wise, him and Barry are almost identical. If you've watched him just slip off of tackles like it was nothing, it was something that Barry Sanders did, just make you miss tackles. However, I think that given the era that Barry played in and the era that Gibbs is in now, and just the difference in teams where back then there wasn't really a pass game, if I remember correctly, with the when Sanders played in Detroit versus now we have this dual pass rush hybrid threat in Detroit. I don't think Gibbs will ever pass Barry's yards, but I do think that if Gibbs played in the same era as Barry,
plus we have a much better O-line.
Yes.
Although our O-line was not that bad for like half.
We got 2 Hall of Famers on there. It wasn't great. And then you got to look at it this way too. Barry Sanders lost about 2,400 yards, I think it is, and still is still in 4th place. Think about that. He lost a lot of yards.
That year that he broke the record for most rushing yards in a season, do you know what other record he held? The most time tackled for loss by a running back in that season.
Mm-hmm.
For every time that he would get a loss of 5 to 6 yards, he would get a gain of 20 to 30 yards. That was the difference.
So I've got to address this attack on Undone.
He didn't break the rushing record, but he did have 2,000 yards in 14 games.
Hold on, I gotta address this because I understand where Undone is coming from, and everyone's like attacking him. So y'all gotta understand something. There are players who could be all-time greats for a team or all-time greats in the league. However, there will come a day when certain records are broken by younger players. It's gonna happen, and I know everyone loves Barry. It's hard not to. But if I were to pick any running back since Barry to outperform Barry and be better than Barry, I genuinely think it could be Gibbs. The dude his play style is almost identical to Barry. Barry has given him his flowers. He has that opportunity to be a better running back than Barry Sanders if our team takes care of him, our front office, our players, all of that.
I don't know about you, Jeremy.
There's not a lion.
I've been around when Barry was playing. Now, Gibbs has a certain running ability. It ain't Barry Sanders' running ability. I'm going to tell you right this. There was no man on earth that can run like Barry. Barry did some unbelievable things.
Right.
Now, that happens like once in a generation. And there's quarterbacks that are like that. There's receivers that are like that. So I don't think anybody's going to come close to Barry as far as his magnificence is as a running back when he played. I do think there will be running backs that can break his records or whatever the case have been because they're young, younger players are being more talented. It's offense too. It's offensive driven league. So it's not defensive anymore. You got to remember Barry did that with defense.
Right.
So
when defenses could hit people and not get a penalty.
Exactly.
How many times do we see Barry get his bell rung and then come back in 2 plays later and run a 50-yard touchdown?
I mean,
I'm not.
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna disagree with any of that. However, I'm gonna also agree with RXJ here, where it's only been a year with Gibbs, and it's still too early to have this conversation.
Did Ovechkin already break Gretzky's record for scoring?
No.
I was gonna say I thought someone broke Gretzky's
record. No, I
record.
think he's quite a bit away still.
But that being said, in that same breath of what RxJ said about it being too early in Gibbs' career, Gibbs is still he's going to be in his sophomore year. He still has a whole career to develop. He still could come out and blow everyone out of the water.
Oh, Ovechkin needs exactly 41 goals. And he's not talking about retirement, so I have the feeling he'll get it.
I genuinely think that if Gibbs stays on that drive, he could be on pace to be the modern day Barry Sanders. Not saying he'll be better. Not saying he's going to, just blow Barry's records away. The modern day Barry Sanders.
Yep.
A modern day Barry I can almost get behind.
Well, I would say he would be the modern day Jahmyr Gibbs, because those kind of running backs make names for themselves. They don't need to be carrying off of Barry Sanders or Jim Brown.
My favorite thing was, everyone was talking about, how we were dumb for taking Gibbs as our first pick last year. What was it, like 6th overall or something like that? And then I went and compiled all of the highlights from Gibbs last year, including all the times where he would get hit, spin off the tackle, and then get another, 4, 5, 10, 15 yards, whatever the case was, and be like, damn, it's almost like, and then when I got the argument, Bijan didn't have an O-line. When you're getting hit out in the open field head on and you're spinning off a tackle, or
Well, first of all, Atlanta did have a good offensive line. They were at least top 10 the whole season. In fact, they came close to being top 5. So that's not an excuse.
Seventh overall.
Yeah. And when you're out downfield 20, 30 yards and you get hit and you break a tackle, because here's the thing. I also don't remember Gibbs getting his bell rung like Bijan did by Branch.
Right. Branch lit him up. Remember, they tried to throw him a penalty. And
they
after
threw him a penalty.
The replay, they threw a penalty. They were going to call it targeting and eject him from the game. And you remember this, Bristrilla. And they literally went back and reviewed it. There's no penalty for targeting. Because he literally hit him with his chest. It was Bijan that lowered his head, which, if you actually read the targeting thing, Bijan was supposed to get a penalty on that play. Because if you hit with the crown of your helmet, doesn't matter if you're offense or defense, it's supposed to be a penalty. Gibbs got to stop dropping.
Gibbs, what are you talking about? Gibbs stopped dropping passes. I think you're messing around with Swift.
No, Gibbs had hold on. Gibbs did have a couple of. He had a couple of, regardless of if it was 3 or 20, he had a couple of very key passes that he did drop. Yeah, and I think that's what.
And Amon St. Brown did too. There was a couple of passes he dropped that he should have caught, and they were in key situations. It happens.
And so did Josh Reynolds. Both of Josh Reynolds drop passes in the.
That's why Josh Reynolds ain't playing here no more. I feel so bad for Josh.
Josh Reynolds was super reliable till that game.
It wasn't the fact that he just dropped those passes. It was his reaction when he dropped them.
I think it was that. And
he was laughing when he walked to the sideline after he dropped the pass.
I think he was laughing because he couldn't believe he dropped it.
I would say
but in the post-game presser, he comes out and they said, well, what do you think about those passes you dropped in this game? They were kind of key and clutch. He goes, shit happens, and walks off the stage.
I think that was more nerves than anything, because you got to remember, he also ended up wanting out of Detroit this offseason because of all the threats and everything that he was receiving because of those 2 drop passes. And it's like, you got to understand, Josh Reynolds made very key catches for us that got us to that point. I understand it hurt, and it sucked.
God was going to him in the first game in the Rams game. I mean, the whole first drive was him and Josh Reynolds, the whole drive. That's all he threw to.
Yep.
So
Josh Reynolds is better than JMO.
No.
JMO hasn't played a full season. Stop putting JMO down.
I mean,
Until he plays a full season.
Josh is a situational a receiver. JMO is going into a time when he's going to be the number 2. So, or number 1.
He's not going to be number 1.
Well, Amon St. Brown's not number 1 either because he plays all over the place. So Amon's really a slot. He's not really. He don't have burners to play on one spot, but he plays it because he runs good routes.
Yeah,
the point of the matter is Yeah,
They might have J-Mo line up in that one slot.
Because Josh was actually the number one receiver last year. He was number one receiver. Amon just had made a best of his opportunities out of the slot wherever to put him. You got to remember, Amon lined up everywhere. He just didn't line up in one spot.
No,
they put him all over the field.
He was wide out slot.
Wide out slot.
He'd run a sweep.
Yep.
So he was all over the place. I'm tired because I've been seeing it for the last 3 years. I'm tired of the J-Mo slander. J-Mo came off an injury in his first year. He in his first pass, dude was wide open in Minnesota, scored a touchdown on his very first NFL reception.
I mean, literally, if you want to go back and raise about Goff without J-Ray, none. Goff is as good as the team around him. Period. The team is good. He'll be good. Is there going to be mistakes in the offseason? Yes. Every QB, whether vet or rookie, has days where they make mistakes. Yep.
And my other thing is so back to the J-Mo conversation. His second year, he got a suspension for what was it he gambled on? Was it golf? College golf at a hotel?
No. He gambled on Alabama football at the Packers game in the hotel.
Yeah, and so he got a suspension for that. So,
but
he ends up.
I'm going to say something here because I actually wrote an article about this. I did some in-depth research about the whole thing throughout the league. At that time, when he was suspended for that, and they did a survey across the NFL, 85% of the players in the NFL did not know they could not bet on another sport.
Yeah,
game.
Didn't know the rule,
which is why they modified the suspension time.
Right,
and they allowed it to take effect with J-Mo's suspension.
Number 2, 8 player assistants and coaches were fired from the Lions for gambling. One of them was directly responsible for wide receivers. Mm-hmm. He was a player assistant for the wide receivers. So that is why you heard about Quintez Cephas getting that indefinite ban, because he was stupid enough while he was hurt to actually bet on the Lions.
CJ
Moore, he was a safety, but he was a roommate of Quintez Cephas while they were in season. He bet on the same thing. And it wasn't the fact they were trying to boost their money or anything else. They weren't getting money. They were trying to make something on the side because they didn't think it mattered. But betting on the NFL, betting in your own sport is stupid.
Yeah, and I'll agree. Now, that being said, J-Mo in the second half of the season produced more than once. Let's not forget that he burned the entire 49ers secondary while stumbling. How many players do you know doing that?
They cannot.
And you got to remember, both those throws he made that Reynolds dropped were like on point. Right. And he got flushed out the pocket on that 1/4 down that he dropped. He got flushed out the pocket and threw a perfect pass to him. All he had to do was catch it. That was the difference. That was the difference in momentum.
And the other thing was, all that happened in the third quarter. And at the same time, while we're griping about the defense, every drive that failed in a 2-minute time span made them get gas, because the San Francisco 49ers would have the ball 7 minutes at a time while they scored touchdowns.
Well, again, after the first 4th down failed because Reynolds dropped that pass, they were in San Francisco territory to a point where they, people, you could have kicked the field goal, whatever. They still had to come all the way back down the field. That's when I noticed the defense was not in the line where it was in the first half, and they weren't giving Sutton any help. That's why Vildor got caught in the position he was at, because they weren't lined where they were supposed to be like they were in the first half. They screwed up. AG screwed that whole secondary up. He didn't do nothing with the line. The line was fine, but the secondary didn't line up correctly. And when you have that quarterback holding the ball, that's when your defense can get to him. And that's what they were doing in the first half. They weren't doing that in the second half. Purdy was running on him like he was Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
We puckered.
Brock Purdy or Goff, who is better?
They're both a product of the team around him, but I think Goff is a little bit better. He's a seasoned vet, and he makes better decisions.
He's got a better team, right? He's a veteran anyway. Yeah. So, and the reason why we paid him $53 million undone, remember, he got paid last. Who do we pay first? Amon St. Brown and Sewell. And why do we pay them first? Because they are the core people in the team. That's where Goff has to get his protection from, A, and that's the go-to guy, B. Mm-hmm. That's why we paid him 50, because we had the parts in place for him to be successful. There you go.
I have said, and it's very funny that both times that Goff has had a bad game in a playoff game, guess who dropped key passes
won
the game?
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds
in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, dropped one in the end zone. Gerald Everett dropped one in the end zone. Brandon Cooks dropped two. One where he had 15 yards of separation and only 10 yards to go to get a touchdown, and one in the end zone. And remember, back in 2018, if you watch Goff play, his deep ball was way better than what we see now. I think that, and coupled with the receivers that dropped passes in 2019 and 2020 when he was with the Rams, messed with his head for his deep ball, and he's never gotten it back. He doesn't have that confidence in his arm anymore.
It's a mental block, yeah.
Yeah. Because remember in the championship game, Jamo was open, even though he did have a corner dragging on him. But if he would have threw that pass a little more in front of Jamo, that was a touchdown. The cornerback got all in Jamo's grill, so he couldn't make the catch. But it had been a little further, Jamo would have got the ball. It's just those little touches that Goff doesn't do that you see most NFL quarterbacks do.
I saw Jamo burned one of our DBs. I want to say it was number 23.
It was Carlton Davis.
That was Carlton Davis.
Yeah. I think Goff has worked with Jamo in this offseason. I think that they're going to be a lot better connected on that deep ball.
Yeah.
He's burning all of our corners every time.
Hendon Hooker is here to be exactly what Dan Campbell said he is. He's here to learn behind Goff and be the best backup he can be right now. Somebody that can come in, learn the system, and win a few games if Goff gets hurt. That's what he's here for.
Yeah.
And for the next two seasons, that's what it is. Guaranteed.
The thing I have a problem with, I worry about Goff coming up in this season is Jamo is fast and he does stretch the field. And to Undone's point, he's got a point. Deep ball is not the same as it used to be. It really never was that great in the first place. He's gotten a couple off. He even had a couple off in this last season. But, you got to have everything working right for him to throw them kind of balls. Now you're asking him to do that on a game basis.
No, not really.
Well, no. If they're going to put Jamo in a bigger role, see where they put Jamo at last year were easy passes.
He's just going to get more targets.
He had a couple of wide open catches.
Balls.
They were doing end arounds with him.
They don't have to be deep balls. Just get him the ball in space. Until he's not Deshaun Jackson, he's Deshaun Jackson.
Right. But at the same time, Cameron's got to take off. I want to say thank you for showing up. I just love talking football. That's why I do this show.
Yeah.
I have no time limit.
Cameron's been a pleasure.
But if anybody's got to work in the morning, I get it.
I've got
I've got 2 days of work, and then I've got car shows all freaking weekend. So I was getting both my vehicles. I've got a truck that's in a 2-day show, and then I've got a car that's got a show Saturday. So I'm slammed for the next
you got a
2
busy
days.
weekend.
Well, you have a great day, Cameron. Thank you for joining us. The percentage of NFL plays that require a ball to have more than 40 yards past scrimmage is less than 1%. Goff is asked out to 40. No, if you actually look at it, percentage-wise, Goff had a great year with the deep ball. He completed second best in the league for passes over 25 yards. The problem with that is he only did 39 attempts all season versus Pat Mahomes, who did 46, versus Josh Allen, who did 72, versus Tua, that had 60 because of who he's got on his team. But that's why he gets better percentages for everybody but
Sorry, Orlando.
Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I know.
Well,
Hooker did the Saints role that Teddy B sat behind Breeze, came in and won some games, and Breeze came back. Yeah, that's exactly what he's for. He's exactly for that role. And the only reason that exact year that you're talking about,
I mean, that's what Ben Johnson has developed the offense. You got to remember that too. Ben Johnson that's why he's such a great offensive coordinator, because he's developed these plays for Goff. You know, and it's all about how he can make things work around him. Short passes, intermediate route passes are what Goff is good for. Play action passes are what he's good for. So you want to implement those strategies in this game. And that's what makes Goff do what he does. He's great at that. And that's what you want to do. You want to enhance him.
I've said this, and I think you can agree. There is something Khalif Raymond does that J-Mo hasn't learned yet, and I want Khalif Raymond to work with it. Khalif Raymond is almost as fast as J-Mo. He's like the second fastest guy on the team. But when he runs his route, he slows down his route till he gets the ball in his hand. You look, he's not running full tilt till that ball is in his hands and tucked in. And that's the difference between Khalif Raymond and J-Mo. Granted, Khalif Raymond's 5 foot nothing and a midget, but he's fast as hell. That's why he's out there, and he's consistent. He makes good catches. He made some clutch catches before he got hurt last year.
I was going to say he missed the NFC Championship game.
Right.
He got missed the whole playoffs.
The season, missed like 3 games, came back, and then got hurt again. I think it was week 11 or 12. It was right around Thanksgiving is when he got hurt again.
Minnesota. Didn't he get hurt in Minnesota? I think that's when he got hurt in Minnesota.
Like a QB touch pass. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yep. If Khalif Raymond can work with Jameson Williams on his short to intermediate routes to do the exact same thing, not go full tilt till you have the ball in your hands, it'll be night and day difference with J-Mo, because J-Mo's even faster than Leaf.
Yep.
Because once he has that ball and you go to catch him and he goes to hit that burst, he'll be gone.
Yep.
That's the difference. And that's what I want to see happen. And I'm quite sure Antoine Randall has probably said something to J-Mo about it. Because I heard they shadow each other a lot. Them and Maurice Alexander. Because Maurice Alexander is one of those guys that need to learn that too. Because he's a speed guy. He's almost as fast as Raymond. I think right now, if you look at the 4-3 guys on the team, Gibbs is in that room. You got Jameson, who might be faster than 4-3, but we don't know. He never ran a combine. We don't need to. We see it on the field. He's electric fast. Khalif Raymond and Antoine Green. Everybody forgets about him. And even Ben Johnson said DPJ and Antoine Green are going to have a bigger role in this offense this year because of the loss.
Depends on the fact they got rid of one receiver, so he's going to have to. I don't see Green making more than 4 or 5, being wide receiver 4 or 5 though. I just don't. He's not going to beat out none of the top 3 ones. He's just not. He doesn't have that development. And to say about J-Mo, I think there's flashes of J-Mo that you like. The Tampa Bay game where Goff threw him that touchdown pass, and the pass wasn't exactly the greatest. It was short, but J-Mo adjusted to it. That is what you want to see in your receiver. You want your receiver to be just like a corner. You want them to be able to be sensing that kind of thing so they can turn around and catch the ball or do what they got to do. So those are things that I see in J-Mo that I want to see in a receiver. Awareness. If he can keep that awareness up, that dude will be good. The speed is there. That's just God's gift for him.
I'm going to tell you something about Green that everybody forgot. When he was at University of North Carolina opposite Josh Downs, he was the better route runner and the better rack guy. All Josh Downs was a deep threat. At North Carolina, he was running slants, he was running ins, he was running outs, short in, short out, mid in, mid out, deep in, deep out, post, and the fly pattern. He was a rack god. He was a run after catch thing. He had averaged, 19.3 yards per catch. And I think average rack yards was 11. That's nuts in college for any wide receiver to do that. So, yes, he probably picked up the route tree faster than J-Mo. J-Mo only had 5 routes at Alabama. It was a slant. It was a post. It was a fly. It was a go route. And then the streak. That's all they used him for. But he did run slant. But it was more of a deep slant where he cut right in between the linebackers and the safety.
I mean, on that fact though, Green is still going to probably. I just don't see him cutting in. If he's that route runner, then he would be probably a backup to Amon, because if he's got that route running ability, Amon would be the next person he would be shadowing. It wouldn't be JMO, or it wouldn't be Peoples Jones. It wouldn't be him. Peoples Jones is like, he lost speed. I don't know if he. See, that's the thing about Peoples Jones. I don't. He doesn't have the greatest speed anymore. He still has his hands, and he really doesn't have really great route running skills either. But he seems to get behind people sometimes. But I don't know about his. He's the only question mark to me.
And the other thing I heard about was Caden Davis in camp. Made some good over-the-shoulder throws deep from both Goff and Hendon Hooker. So, they are rotating guys in like it's a regular game situation to see if everybody. DPJ wasn't overrated. He went to a bad team. Do you remember who he went to?
Cleveland.
Right.
And he played lights out in Cleveland when we were down receivers.
Right.
Hey, Jeremy.
When everybody else was hurt, and all there was Jarvis Landry and DPJ. He had almost 900 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think he had some crazy stat like a 78% catch rate. And
isn't that when OBJ went down? When they had OBJ
and all them.
Yeah, he was a number 2 receiver anyway. Peoples Jones was a number 2 receiver anyway, and he came up with number 1 receiver yards. So I mean, at the end of the year, can't beat him with that one.
I had one question for you, Jeremy. How's Suckfeld holding the clipboard straight up, side to side? Do we know anything?
Nate Suckfeld still holds the surface because they don't use a clipboard. Nate Suckfeld. He holds that surface at the perfect angle to keep the glare of the sun out of Goff and Hooker's eyes.
Good.
I'm telling you, if it ever comes to it gets that bad that we had Sudfeld being a quarterback, we're through.
I would forfeit the game.
I know it's I'd say I'd take hey, anybody in the crowd can quarterback. We need a quarterback.
I'd send Jeremy out there. I'd be like, put this guy in.
Any of the players know how to quarterback?
DPJ. At best, he's a 6th option. But guess what?
Is probably looking like the 6th option right now.
A 6th option.
Traquan Smith, the guy we picked up.
He's got speed too now. Traquan's fast.
Yeah, he's a 4-4.
He's got wheels.
He's a 4-4 guy.
But that's fast though. He's fast receiver. And
I don't think they're signing.
I don't think his route running is not the greatest, but you got to learn that.
You guys are forgetting about one thing. That when
then we got that undrafted rookie too.
Is that wait a minute?
Davis, the guy I talked about. We got Isaiah Williams, the special teams guy from Illinois.
Isaiah Williams, that's the guy.
But he's been struggling with catching the ball so far. He's one of those body catcher guys. So he's gonna struggle with that. The only thing he's gonna be is probably a special teams guy if he makes the team. That's what I'm hearing.
Body catching. Let me tell you something. There's people want you to catch the ball with your hands, but I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of receivers in history that have made their living catching the ball with their body and being Hall of Famers. So yeah, that doesn't bother me. But if you're dropping balls and you're using your body and you're still dropping balls, that's a problem. Because that should be, you should have security with that. Well, I can understand you're not catching with your hands.
The reason why we didn't draft a wide receiver at all this draft. All right, Will, have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Will.
I'll be in the comments.
He said he's fine with the wide receiver room we got. Ben Johnson is working with what we got. Let's see what we got before we try saying we need to sign this and we need to sign that. The key thing is next year we only got $46 million in cap. So if they don't spend a dime, $34 million of that rolls over to next season. That's huge. Because $4 million is taken away as injury signings because they know there will be injuries and people will have to be signed. That's off the cuff, right off the rip. So you add $34 million to that, we got $80 million. Don't that sound a lot better to go out and get the pieces just in case you do fall short?
Well, they're going to have to because their offensive line is not going to be, you got 4 guys right there that might retire in the next 2 or 3 years. So, And, Penei Sewell's the only one that's not going to retire because he's a fresh rookie guy.
I think
sophomore year now.
Ragnow's got 2 years left after this year. I think he may retire on that. I wouldn't even take.
He said he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, I wouldn't say that. If they win the Super Bowl,
until his foot forces him to.
If they win the Super Bowl, that changes a lot of people's minds, the players. If that's the ultimate goal in life, and they win the Super Bowl and their body's kicking their ass, yeah, they're gonna retire. And Ragnow's one of those people.
He can retire with a ring. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Why do?
That's what I think he's gonna do. 3 things really quick because I've been waiting to say all of them. Okay. 1, statistically and historically speaking, we have a better chance to make the Super Bowl than San Francisco.
I agree.
Because going to the Super Bowl and losing and getting back the next year outside of the Bills rarely happens. 2, I'm not worried about Goff's deep ball because that is not what our offense is predicated upon. Exactly. And J-Mo in the offense, he's a 5th option behind Monty, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, and Laporta. All we need him to do is what he did last year for a whole season.
Right. And I've said that. I said, you take and double that and maybe add another 70 yards, and that should be your expectations for J-Mo this season. I said somewhere between 45 and 55 catches.
I was going to say 40 to 50.
700 plus yards and 8 touchdowns. That should be your expectations for it to be a good season.
You know what that is? Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he's not taking Raymond's kick or punt return duties is because Khalif Raymond was an All-Pro 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, and we did beat ourselves, and I'll say it again. Not running the ball after the Jahmyr Gibbs fumble made it so we could not control the time of possession with a lead. Once we stopped running the ball in that third quarter, the defense, every series, looked a little worse. Granted, the 1 touchdown came off of the luckiest bounce on a half-inch wide piece of metal I've ever seen in my entire friggin' life. That bounce off of Kindle Vildor's mask, when it went between his hands, hit his face mask, and bounced perfectly to Ayuk, the chance of a point of a football bouncing like that is less than 1,000,000 to 1. But it happened.
Yeah, and again, that probably would not have happened if AG did not change that backfield. There would be a different outcome for that. I'm telling you right now, it just I don't know what happened. And then Ben and then stopping running the ball after Gibbs fumbled it was bad.
They puckered.
I don't understand why he did that.
That was the worst part. But at the same time, if you look statistically, we were a top 10 running team. We were a top 5 passing team. And I'm talking across the board. We ended up 3rd overall for offense last year, right? When you add it all in together. Why is it
3rd or
that
4th,
rushing yards in the third quarter was down by 50 yards compared to every other quarter on an average?
Yeah.
That's Ben Johnson in his third quarters, man.
And at the same time, the passing yards was 106 yards more in the third quarter for opposing teams than it was in any other quarter. So at the same time, as much as we want to fault Ben Johnson and his adjustments, you have to fault AG and his adjustments. Because the fourth quarter, both of them figured it out, and we won a lot of games in the fourth quarter. Our Achilles is running QBs. Who beat us? Who beat us because of a running QB last year?
Chicago.
Did they beat us because of that, or did they beat us because we had 4 turnovers in that game? 5 if you count Monty's fumble.
They actually, in reality, they should have won the one at Detroit too.
Right.
Yo, Fields was killing us.
was
killing us.
Baltimore.
But he didn't have touchdowns.
There you go. Lamar was killing us.
Lamar, 100%.
But then Brock Purdy, I don't know what the hell happened to Brock Purdy, but he must have turned into Lamar because that's what killed us in the second half too. Nobody could stop Purdy from running. Like, this dude don't run.
But at the same time, How many touchdowns did Fields score on his feet in either game? How many?
Who did Lamar?
No, Fields. In either Chicago game, how many touchdowns did he score with his feet? The answer is zero.
True, but it's not about how many
it's
times
not about scoring.
the goal
It's not about
line.
touchdowns, though.
It's
if
what
you
he
add
did
that
between
element coming out of the
one and
backfield,
the
you
one.
don't know. The dude is fast. He's talented.
We've been terrible against running quarterbacks for a decade.
I blame it on our linebackers. We don't have linebackers.
I was going to say linebackers.
And not only that, we don't spy a mobile QB. AG has said he refuses to do, and he never will. And I think it's the stupidest thing I ever heard come out of a defensive coordinator's mouth. Everybody that faces a mobile QB leaves a linebacker or a defensive end as a spy on the line. Every team.
James, in that game, that Lamar wasn't the one that we had a problem with Lamar in that game too. However, what they had was a problem with Hollywood.
I was going to say
dropping passes. He dropped like 3 touchdown passes right there.
I was going to say we should have lost that game.
We should have got our
20.
butt kicked in that game.
We should have lost by 20. You're exactly right, because I did the math. I talked about that. I said if Marquise Brown or Hollywood Brown wasn't channeling his inner Eric Ebron, we wouldn't have even been in a position to lose the game by a field goal. I said that in an article that I wrote. That was my very first game review that I ever wrote. I called it The Greatest Kick That Never Should Have Happened. That was the title of the article.
Even with
it wasn't the first time we lost a game to the Ravens on a 60-plus yard field goal by Justin Tucker.
Right. His rookie year, when he kicked the first one at 61 yards on a Monday night football
game. That and the fact that we lost the game with him just kicking field goals. The Baltimore Ravens didn't score a touchdown in that game, and we lost by him kicking field goals the whole game. No, he kicked like 5 field goals, and we lost.
At the same time, that was before Romeo Okwara got hurt that year. And I think him and who was the other guy? We had somebody applying pressure with Okwara on Lamar. They were like doing more of the wide 9 technique. Who was it? I know Anzalone got back there once. But we really did corral Lamar in that particular game as far as his running ability in 2021.
Well, Lamar didn't really. I mean, are you talking about the last game, James, when we played him? Because he didn't really have to run too much because the defense was so confused. They didn't know where they were at. Like on that first drive when they got down, I was like, why is everybody playing out of position? What's going on here? AG, what are you doing, man?
Hey, and another thing you can talk about, and it goes right back to that presser right after the Chicago game. When we got our butt handed to us and our defense looked awful the entire game. What did Dan Campbell say there, Dom? Do you remember that?
Wait, after which game?
After the second Chicago game at Chicago.
I don't remember.
He literally said, I'm going to have to put my hands on this defense to make it more aggressive. And if you look from that week on, that defense was more aggressive. Hutch only had 5.5 sacks coming in, and then he ended up doubling his sack total in the last 6 games of the season.
Which is another reason why AG concerns me.
Right.
If AG can't do nothing with this defense and has a hard time with this defense, yeah, I think he needs to be finding another job. Especially if your head coach has to come in and make adjustments. That's not a good thing.
I said the other thing about AD, this is the no excuses year for him. We should not have a passing defense less than 15.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at what we did and what we added to this roster, who we brought back, the depth we have on it compared to last year, there is no reason for this to be a bottom half passing defense. If it is, AG's got to go.
Yeah, he's got to go. I mean, he's got everything in front of him, and there's no excuses anymore for him. You know, not having the right players or you know, injury is going down. Now secondary is basically foolproof. I mean, you got depth back there now. You got depth at the line now. I mean, the only depth you don't really have is that linebacker, but
we're
if you play predominantly, the line is going to make the linebackers good anyway.
Right.
So
and here's the thing that I heard out of camp that I'm excited about because I predicted it might happen. Guess who's turned heads both days of the vet mandatory camps where everybody's there? My guy out of the CFL Defensive Player of the Year, Matthew Betts, has been wreaking havoc, not only on Goff or Hooker, but also on running backs. He's making tackles behind the line. And I said when we signed him, I said, even before we got Davenport and after Davenport, I said this to you, Dom, and you said, I don't see it. I said, this guy has a 55 to 60% chance of being our first down starter on defense because of the way he plays the run. He always had a nose for the ball. I watched a lot of those games when he played for the BC Lions, and he has a nose for the ball. He's always around the ball. He had 5 tip passes. He had 10 tackles for loss, the 18.5 sacks. I mean, you don't have those kind of numbers without having a nose for where the football is. And I could care less that their D-line starts a yard back. What he has is a nice first step. He has good use of his hands. He has a good inside spin move. He has a bull rush move to the outside, which is something that Hutchinson needs to work on, is his spin to the outside. Because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but even after the defense got more aggressive, Hutchinson looks lost and dizzy when he spins to the outside. It's almost flawless when he spins to the inside. Look at that Chicago.
He said he had to work on that. He already knows what he has to work on. What I don't like about Hutchinson, especially that NFC Championship game, dude, please don't get pancaked by a tight end.
Right.
Don't do that.
I mean, granted,
George, I would have punched Kittle in his face. You ain't pushing me on the ground. Forget that. I'm gonna punch you in the face. I don't care if I get a penalty. You're not knocking me to the ground. I'm a defensive end, bro. You're a tight end. I don't care how big you are. You ain't knocking me to the ground. It ain't happening. And he needs to learn that.
Yep.
Because he really kind of looked bad on that play. Looked bad.
He looked real bad. I get it.
I know he was getting up nervously
anything to overcome being undersized.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to work on it.
He go up to 275 last year. It comes in looking even more buff this year. They think he's pushing closer to 280. And that's more of the size he needs to be at his height. And and everyone gets owned here or there.
True.
But a defensive end should not get owned by a tight end unless a tackle's helping him. But at the same time, who's the best blocking tackle in the NFL right now? It is Kittle. He's a better blocker in the run game than Kelsey. Go watch it.
Well, Kelsey's not built for blocking.
No,
he's built for catching. He's just a big ass wide receiver. That's what he is.
He's a wide receiver.
That works with Kansas City though. Kittle San Francisco's probably modeled more like we are, or we're modeled more like them. We're probably the same as them as far as how we're modeled offensively. You know, that we got a good blocking tight end. He's very efficient when he catches it. They got good running back ability. Now, the only thing San Francisco really don't have too much of is 2 running back situation. Christian McCaffrey is obviously one of the better running backs in the league, but the backup running back isn't exactly the greatest. But being said, they probably equal what we have in the backfield of ours. They got a pretty decent offensive line, although I think ours is better than theirs. Their defense is probably on par with what we're going to be like, hopefully. And
got worse too.
We match up really well with San Francisco.
Their secondary got worse. Brock Bowers.
Well, they got Chase Lucas. San Francisco's the one that grabbed Chase Lucas, so they got worse.
If you look, AOC likes to use his tight end, and they're saying that he's more than likely the starter at Oakland to start the season because he used Michael Mayer a lot. But at the same time, at the back end of the year, Michael Mayer dropped a lot of passes. And everybody forgets that. And that's why they went ahead and said, hey, all the quarterbacks are gone. We'll take the next best offensive player on the board in Brock Bowers and give us a legitimate guy with great hands. And my co-host, when we did our draft party last year, what did he say about when we drafted Sam Laporta ahead of Michael Mayer? He's got better hands anyways. And he proved it. Good night, much love, and see you on Friday, JB. Yes, sir, Will. But we've been on here for 2 hours just talking football. Ain't it great?
Yeah.
I love football.
Just wait until we get to a real season.
Right. I can't wait till regular season. Then that's when the other fans come out of the woodworks to be on shows like this, especially the ones that aren't podcasters. And that's why I created this show. I like talking about the whole NFL as well as the Lions. You know, I'm going to talk the Lions while we're on it. But as you notice, the other fans drop off when we start getting in depth. Oh, yeah, you know, Laporta Potty, where he shits on defenses everywhere.
There you go.
Laporta does. But, you know, I stole that line from Neil. I ain't going to lie. But at the same time, we need to go ahead and probably call it a night because I do have to work tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about my sponsors. And since we're not on Roku, cussing is allowed. It's FTP. No, it's not for the pride. It's fuck the Packers. Put it in the chat.
There you go.
Besides Bates, anyone else pop off the screen? You mean bets? It's bets, not Bates.
No. He's talking about the kicker from. He's talking about the kicker from the Panthers. He's talking about the UFL.
Birmingham.
The other one, the safety, Nakua's brother.
Yeah,
that good. Dude he's the real deal.
Yeah, and the kick returner for the Birmingham Stallions. That guy is electric. Watch him when we play them again. Hey, smoke a Derby beat. Just show up drunk and tell them you want to cruise Dort Highway Ballet Club. My other sponsor. Oh, go ahead. I'll take that off.
Michigan had, by the way, the Panthers had 13 players named to the all UFL team. That was the most of any team.
That's the most of any team in any professional outlet, I think.
Well, considering there's only 8 teams in the UFL, I mean, that's a lot of players to be on that.
A lot of players from one team is what I'm getting at. That's a lot. And you know, Jake Bates is the kicker.
Yeah, he got it. They did have Marcus Sims, the wide receiver. Again, Nakua was on there. One of the Beeman, I don't know what his name is, a linebacker and a defensive lineman was also on there. Most of their guys were on defense that they got all the 13 guys.
Beeman, wasn't that the kid that didn't get drafted the season before? And he went there and he was a linebacker out of one of the Big Ten schools. I think he was the backup to Jack Campbell, if I remember right, at Iowa.
Who, Nakua?
No, Beeman. The linebacker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know he played pretty good this year. I think he played pretty good this year. And the defensive lineman that they picked up, that they had as a all UFL, he was pretty good. I just noted Nakua because Nakua was out there just blasting people and you know, making plays. The dude was like instrumental in 2 games where he made a play to seal the game. Guy's awesome. So he could be our next NFL guy.
Right. And of course we got Glossnagron, the best window tinner voted in 2023 through the Chamber of Commerce there in Saginaw, 409 Hamilton Street, 989-443-940 if you want to schedule your appointment to get your windows tinted or your car detailed. He does both by appointment only. That's a Maserati he did at his shop. And this one is when we used to work together at A1 Tire. It's a 300C class. I got to see him do all his work live and in person. Be nice to integrate our practice squad players to develop like a farm team. If you think about it, that's what we've been doing. Because of injuries, we've had to call these guys up, and they have made key plays in situations. Oh God, there's a homer take. Mekhi Wingo is better than Aaron Donald. Woo! I can smell the
Yeah,
fight.
that's not gonna that won't. I mean, I can't say it won't be. He won't be, but then again, whatever.
I mean, he won't be, but Eric Ebron definitely was.
Stop. That's like saying Terry Fair was better than Randy Moss.
He just got. Oh wait, no, that was Pettigrew that got arrested the other day.
Yep,
Yeah, Pettigrew. Yeah.
He punched some.
He was
glass
actually a decent tight end too.
Eric Ebron 1.0.
Yeah,
He
but
was
Eric Ebron
never was.
But he could catch better, and he could block better than Ebron.
Yeah, we finally got it to where he could block. He set the record. Didn't he?
Eric
set the
Butterfingers Ebron
in yards the year before we drafted Ebron.
Pettigrew broke the yardage record. Then he broke his own record the next year.
Right. And he added the receptions record in a season for a tight end for the Lions that year, too, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year, we draft a guy with the exact same draft profile. Not that good of a blocker, suspect hands, but has the speed to get past the defense. That was his draft profile. And that's exactly what we drafted 3 years before with Pettigrew.
Wasn't he like the 5th pick overall? Ebron?
10th.
I remember going to that draft party at Ford Field too. I remember going to that draft party, and me and my boy were looking at the screen like, "Oh my God, they picked the tight end! What the hell are they doing?" That was the year Aaron Donald was available.
Right. Yep. 3 picks later, he went to the Rams. But anyways, RXJ says he was Ebron before it was cool to be an Ebron. And the last
he was
one,
a better version.
Employer. It's a branded service used in new tires sold right here in Flint, Michigan, 602 West Atherton Road at the corner of South Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road. If you need new tires, call to get your quote, 810-233-8230. You can ask for George, Red, or Jeremy, myself being that person. Our used tires start at $40 a piece and go up based off of condition and size of rim. And RXJ, you're right. If you get your car detailed, you will have no swamp ass smell from the winter. I love my guys at the chat. They have fun. Man, 21 people still watching at 11 o'clock at night. I never thought I'd be able to say that going all prime time and into news hours and have people watching us. That's amazing.
We're talking good stuff, though. We're talking good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're not being homerish, but we are. We're being a realistic approach on what we're saying. And I still think this might be the year we get there, but not quite get it done.
No, I think we're going to get it done.
You think we're going to get it done this year,
I think we're going to get it done this year.
I meant get to the Super Bowl.
I'm with Cam on that one, man. I think just the stars are aligning the right way for the Lions right now. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I believe they get in the Super Bowl and maybe they lose.
Right. That's
what's that going to do? That's just going to invoke more confidence in that team next year to get into the Super Bowl and actually win it. So either way, in the next couple of years, I'm looking for a Super Bowl win. So
yeah, but unfortunately, Orlando, the 11 a.m. show is taken by a Packer and Bears show that I sometimes get in the chat and talk my little bit of shit that I can, because I can. Because, hey, if Minnesota could claim that they were Kings of the North the year they won it over the Packers, we should be able to claim it this year. Because we did the same thing. And we are. We are the Kings of the North until our crown is knocked off. Everybody starts out 0-0, but we still won it.
Kansas City's the Super Bowl champs until they don't get to the Super Bowl. So
right. Or until someone beats them in it.
Right. That would be us.
Right. I believe the Super Bowl window closed for Josh Allen. His interceptions keep going up. His touchdowns keep going down. If you look, it's slowly doing this. The touchdowns are creeping down closer to where his interceptions are. He has less of a wide receiver crew this year than he had the previous 3 years. They also have less.
He's got Chase Claypool. He's number 3. He says he's a number 3 receiver.
Hey, the Canadian guy that calls himself Mapletron.
I was going to say Mapletron.
Mapletron. There you go. Mapletron.
He gave himself
He
that
looked good
nickname
his first
after
2
the combine.
years.
Yeah, the first year was great,
Mapletron.
and that was with Ben Raplesberger.
Well, he played with Tua, and that didn't seem to do him. He played with, well, I can't give him anything on Justin Fields because Justin Fields was never developed into a passer. You know, Chicago's up there talking about, you know, Justin Fields wasn't crap. No, you didn't develop Justin Fields. You didn't put all this around him that you got Caleb going on here. So, yeah, you didn't develop him. So I don't know what you're talking about.
And until Josh Allen can get past Pat Mahomes, he suffers from PMSD, Pat Mahomes stress disorder.
Or Joe Burrow.
But at the same time, Pat Mahomes right now suffers from JGSD, Jared Goff stress disorder. He's the only quarterback that's 2-0 versus him active in the NFL. But everybody forgets he actually beat him on a Monday Night Football game that was a shootout when he out Mahomes.
I mean, that's full new.
+2, James Burgess.
There you go. Say you're gonna see your tatas anyway, huh? You say, Dad, I'm seeing my tatas.
Honestly, who's drafted better than Holmes the last 3 years? Our cast off getting signed. Miss Massive Dong. Woo!
That should be MD in. Anyway, yeah, you can tell it's getting late at night.
Yeah, we're getting
Everybody's acting just a bit wacky now.
I want to say thanks to RXJ, James Burgess, Orlando Escobar Jr., Ricky Sakat, everybody else who chimed in this chat. James Burgess. You guys are great. This is the reason why we do these shows, is for the fans. Getting paid is an afterthought. We did it because we wanted to talk football. If we get paid for it, great. But we're willing to pay for our streaming services and do this stuff just to make people have a little bit more information, maybe have some fun while doing it. But try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. It's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here. Have a great night. And until next time, which is Friday night, we start at 9 p.m., and that is a Roku show. If I run over, I don't care, because I found out when the next show goes live, it boots me out of there. So we can run over on Friday nights too, but for the first hour, it has to be clean.
Yeah.
Because when you're on Roku, FCC gets involved. There's a little different than just
punk ass FCC. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. But thank you, Brian. Thank you to Will. Thank you to Ralph. Thank you to Cameron. You guys were all great. Thank you, Dom. It's good to see you again. It's been a minute. Glad to see you back and joining in the show. Hey, the new
there
iPhone.
You go, Dom.
Icons in the back. Look at you. Threw a party because you put the thumbs up sign. Have a great night, everybody.